Good morning, everyone. I hope you're all doing well. I'm not sure whether you can see, but I have extremely red swollen nose. I've not been very well. I say not been very well quite loosely. I would say that I've been in a mass healing this week. It's been very, very intense, to say the least. And not just me, my daughter too. Mine sort of stems back from the intense shock that I had last year. So in 2005, I started waking up to a lot of the illusions, mainly being the pharmaceuticals, vaccinations. I was very ill. I had a lot of pain, belly pains, stomach issues, always ill, completely convinced I was dying at the doctor's every day. My medical notes are absolutely huge, in and out of hospitals, A&E, and one day I was in hospital and I sat there and I realised, as they were pumping me and everybody else with morphine, that this is not working. This is creating more problems. All the tablets I'm on is creating more problems, and frantically I started searching stuff up online, and that was the start of my awakening, shall we say. That was the start of me dropping down the illusions. I then come across a practitioner who was a kinesiologist practitioner who opened my eyes up to a lot more. Then my daughter got sick with pneumonia, and at the time I was convinced that was to do with the shedding of the flu vaccine. Now knowing German new medicine, I understand that viruses aren't live, been isolated, or as we think they are. So now I know that's not the case, and I realised that her pneumonia was stemming from other issues. But that's neither here nor there, because it took me on my journey of pharmaceuticals, observing hospital, NHS doctors, how they treated and tried to deal with it. They made her pneumonia worse. She was in and out of hospital for 2 months. Well, she was in hospital twice over 2 months. She had 2 months off school. The school kept trying to force her back. I was having pressure from them. And that is when I really started to stand in my power and stood up as a parent and was like, no, this isn't happening anymore. The journey was very intense for me, but it was quite liberating. I had a lot of people stab me in the back, talk about me behind my back, call me a conspiracy theorist. I've had a lot of shit over the years. I then started, looking into the usual, the chemtrails and the vaccines and so on. I would post about it on Facebook. I lost many friends. I had many people message me. I also helped many people and assisted them, because that's how it works. We wake up, we plant seeds, we wake more people up, we create community, we connect. That's the way it works. So after sort of being in that sort of truthing, shall we say, I'm just going to label. I don't want to label, but I'm just going to label. So after being in that sort of truthing scene, so to speak, it was getting too much. So I was reading up. I was fully aware of New World Order, Agenda 21, 2030, always wondering how it was going to take place. But I'd had enough. I'd had enough of that sort of level of consciousness and frequency that was coming into me. And then I started on that spiritual awakening. So I suppose that sort of happened around 2017, a couple of years after, but really accelerated in 2018-19, specifically 2019, clearly preparing me for 2020. I qualified as a Reiki practitioner in 2019. I'd done kinesiology in 2018, and I discovered German new medicine in 2016-17. Totally changed my perspective, my outlook. It changed everything. It changed my whole world, because of this level of information was like a life changer. Health, complete change of paradigm in health, and was something that resonated with me immediately. I very much looked into Louise Hay and how to heal the body through emotions. So I was already resonating with that type of thing. So when I discovered German new medicine and the science behind it, it was just like something that clicked inside me, and completely changed my life and how I see illness and health. So fast forward 2020, March 2020 specifically, when everything kicked off, announcement come on my birthday, 22nd of March, that the world was locking down. On the 23rd, over the spring equinox. As always, 22nd of March is a very important date in their terms. They always use this date for false flags and such. So fast forward on to the 22nd of March, and me sort of reading and just, finding out about New World Order, Agenda 21, 2030, you get the gist. If you're truthful, you understand if you're awake to this kind of stuff, and realising, oh, this is how it's going to take place. Now, I was always told, I had to see a healer friend who was a psychic back in December, and I was told a lot of stuff in 2020, and I really never knew how it was going to transpire about community coming together, because I was quite isolated. I brought myself in. I didn't really have or resonate with people locally or around me, because there was only a few people. So it was quite a lonely journey, and I just sort of isolated myself. So I was told that in 2020 that would change, and never knew how. So when this did happen in March, and it did come about, the shock on my body was intense. And I'll be honest, and I'm going to be really... I'll get out that sun, actually. Sorry. I'm going to be really honest and sort of vulnerable in how that sort of played out for me. I was scared. I was listening and having all these stories coming in that they were going to be knocking on my door, taking my child. This was happening at school. They were going to lock them in, and there were so many scare stories out there in the truthing scene. Actually, worse probably than in the media at sometimes. But the level of fear that was around me, family. I couldn't escape it. And even though I knew German medicine, and even though I knew all about viruses, no one would listen to me. Everyone thought I was a nutter. It was frustrating. The situation just was like, I've had enough. This is absolutely ridiculous. I felt scared. I wanted to shout to the rooftops, but no one wanted to listen to me. I kept putting it on Facebook. I had old friends rip me to pieces, pull me apart. I just deleted and blocked them. I decided that I would no longer communicate with people that wanted to come on and berate me on my own profile. If you didn't like me, unfollow me. I've always said that. I did have a lot of messages from people that thanked me for trying to highlight this situation. But again, if I was to talk about German medicine to people and viruses, no one wants to hear it. It's a deep, deep running program of how we feel about viruses and how they work in the body. So, I was very much berated. And so, although I'd done a lot of inner work and I'd done a lot of shadow work last year, a lot of inner child, I'm still doing it daily. I still hadn't completely resolved that shock that I'd had, that many of us had in March 2020. And they keep coming. So there was a shock on top of a shock on top of a shock. And I was having to prepare myself for future announcements by reading the news and understanding what was going to happen, so I wouldn't continue to be in a loop of these shocks. Thankfully, to many, many friends that have come in place, and many people that I connected with on a... Sorry, a fly hit my ear then. Many people that I'd connected with on a local level, a national level, worldwide, really helped pull me back into myself. I'd done workshops with my friend Quirky. That really helped. And Quirky Cosmo, so if you want to follow her, by the way, great person to follow. I connected with my mentor Nicola, and I connected with all my beautiful friends. We set up a group on Signal, and we connected, and it really helped assist that process that we were all going through in 2020. And the change and the shift in all of us is amazing. But what happened to me over the last month is I started coming to terms with what's been going on deep within, and really changing my perspective, feeling more relaxed, more calm with what's going on, understanding the deeper, I was getting a lot of downloads coming through where I was understanding more on a conscious soul level what was taking place on the bigger picture. And as I started to relax and change that perspective, I knew that I was going to start to shift in my physical symptoms, because I was healing something very big. And how I knew was over the last few months I had a really, really strong sense of smell. It literally came out of nowhere, and I could smell things that no one else could smell. And I was like, hang on, I don't really want this superpower. This isn't something I signed up for. And then it started me thinking that in the process of GNM, when you're in that conflict active phase, it is making the organ prepare for to be able to become stronger, to be able. So, for instance, the stink conflict. This is what I've mainly had with my nose. So it's making the sinuses able to better smell that next stink conflict. You know, to be able to smell that opponent or that situation. So. And I'd literally just, you know, commented and spoke to my mum a couple of weeks ago that I feel like I'm going to go into a healing actually of this soon, because it clicked in me that I've been in an active conflict for so long with regards to this situation, and I'm not the only person. There's probably many people still in active conflict without being resolved because of the constant interruptions with the announcements and new news and new this and new that. That's why it's really important that when we are consciously following this kind of information, that when we are following this kind of information, that we are following it on a conscious level, so we don't bring in these conflicts, these shocks, these traumas, these fears. You know, we follow it from an outside source, conscious outside source. So we're looking in, you know, with the looking glasses, but sort of keeping yourself sort of away. So this week I went into a mass healing, and I had one of the worst colds you would call, you know, that general people would call it, sore throat. I coughed not deep in the lung, but, you know, just that quite dryness. And most people would think that this is COVID, right? Or, you know, we've been led to believe that every symptom's COVID these days anyway. And we'll go and run to the doctor, get a test or whatever, and then they panic that they've got COVID, whatever. You know the drill. But actually, I knew that my body was healing. I wouldn't believe that anyway. And I had to sit with it for days, and it was so intense. But I was so thankful that I finally let it go. In what I thought I'd got over, I've realised that as a collective, we are in a state of active in and out conflict, in and out healing. And when these symptoms come, when you finally relax, in whatever way that displayed for you at that time when you had that shock when the world got locked down, however it come for you. So I also had a bad tummy, and that was to do with the indigestible anger of that situation that took place, and it all come together. And I had to tap in, because we have so many situations where this situation stinks, this is out of order in life, that it's really hard to sometimes narrow down a stink conflict, especially with what's going on at the moment. And I really had to tune into myself. I had to tune into my inner guidance, get my pendulum out, and really tune in and ask, what am I healing? Because I really wanted to connect in with it, and I want to clear it for good. So what has been a really tough, intense week for me and my daughter, now she's healing something completely different, and we've already connected in with that, and hopefully I've helped her, assist her on her journey once that starts to clear. But it's I've just been trying to really bring in acceptance for how everything is playing out. I've had the anger, I've had the fear, I've had that intense fear of being scared for my life, my daughter's life, you know, saying to my partner that you're going to have to protect us. This was at the beginning, you know, and I was having sleepless nights. I couldn't focus, and them sleepless nights, they are a sign that you are in a conflict. Active healing, especially if you're waking up after 3, when your mind's going constantly and you've got whatever this situation is that's on your mind, when it's going around constantly in that constant loop, that's what it's doing. So I just wanted you to share my story. Does it mean I'm not going to be scared, angry, this situation stinks again? Absolutely not. It doesn't mean that, but it means that I'm starting to come to terms with it, and something that I thought I'd got over, I hadn't. So this week has been a very physical week for not just me, but for many of my clients, my friends, my family. And I just want to pull the message through. Just bring acceptance and surrender into your healing. It's nothing that your body is doing wrong. Please don't get scared, and just love your body and give it gratitude. Have a beautiful day.